Welcome to Subramani. I've got some amazingly good questions, and I thought I should do a video for as more as a tribute to those questions than to anything else, and I get fantastic questions to answer. So, what is the lesson from the pandemic, or rather, the question is what are the lessons from the COVID pandemic 2020 March, right? January to March, whenever it happened. I think some very important lessons should be learned, right? First, learn that anything can happen in the market. Be completely ready for the totally unexpected. Nobody ever thought some pandemic like this would come and hit so hard, take so many lives. I mean, how many doctors have died, how many so-called fit people have died, how many youngsters have died, right? So if you were very unlucky, you got the COVID attack in March or April 2020 because the doctors did not know how to handle it. They were not very sure. And if you were very lucky, you got the attack in March 2021 when everybody knew the protocol. You were just home quarantined and in 4 days you were out, right? So that's just sheer luck. So very important thing to learn is things like this will happen. Expect the unexpected. Completely shocking things can happen. For a very long period of time also you can get hurt. One very wrong thing which we learned is therefore the market will go down and stay down for 5 months. That is an amazing piece of luck. That is not a good learning, right? It could have been 5 months, it could have been 2 years, it could have been 3 years. In fact, I was ready for a much longer bear run, and when the market went up like this, I was like pretty surprised. I mean, I'm very happy, but the question is I never expected it to go up so fast, right? So again, unexpected. One unexpected sadness and one unexpected happiness, because once the market goes up, your mood goes up, and everything is buoyant. Though actually, for most of the people watching this video and youngsters who are 28, 29, it's a question of when the market goes up, you actually get less. So you should be happy if the market stays lower longer. But that didn't happen, and that's a wrong learning to think in 5 months markets will recover. Market may not recover in 4-5 months. Very important learning, or so it looks, is to be able to sit tight during this period. Yes, you can sit tight if it is 4-5 months. You may not be able to sit tight if it is 4-5 years. So a good lesson would have been, even in March 2020, if you needed money within the next 2-3 years, I don't know how you could have handled it, because best thing is you would have sold and put it into some debt fund. But having seen the market recover, you feel, there's important learning. I should sit tight during such periods. Now let me just break it up as to what you can do. So if you see the March 2020 charts, one asset which would have been lovely to sell would have been gold, right? And another asset which you could have really used was cash in your bank account, right? These are two assets which would have done very well during that time, and you would have no regrets having sold it in March 2020, because gold has only gone south from there, and cash is cash. It would have anyway not given you too much yield. So if you had sold gold and lived for the next 6 months, right, or if you had used your cash in the bank and lived for the next 6 months, life would have been great, because you wouldn't have sold equity, which was down, and debt, which was illiquid. It was, if you had lower quality debt, slightly lower quality, if you had AAA or gilt, the impact would have been little, but even the gap between gilt and the AAA was high. But assuming you had something lower down, something BB plus, or you had in Franklin Templeton ultra short bond fund or floater, any of those funds, then your money was stuck for whatever reasons, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter, but your money was stuck. That time the best thing to sell would have been gold, because gold has fallen after that. So this is a very, very important lesson. When you don't feel like selling equity because equity is down, when you can't sell some of your debt, because we also learned that during pandemics debt performs very poorly in terms of liquidity, not in terms of risk but in terms of liquidity. You don't feel like selling your debt instruments at a discount. So you don't feel like selling equity, you don't feel like selling debt. It's a fantastic time to be using your bank fixed deposits or bank savings bank account and the gold that you have, because gold would have gone up, and gold did go up, right? So that is the role of gold. Don't look for yield on gold. When you look at gold, see whether you can sell it at a short notice, maybe it's an ETF, or whether it is physical gold. SGB, that is sovereign gold bond, is not for this category. Sovereign gold bond is you're creating some asset 5 years later or 10 years later, 8 years later to be more precise. That cannot be sold, or that will not be as liquid as an ETF or the physical gold that you have at home. The physical gold at home that you have could be biscuits or coins, that could be a reasonable price that you get for it. Jewelry is not gold, jewelry is jewelry. So don't confuse the two, right? So this was another important learning. Such a quick recovery, we do not know that it will happen, and that has happened. And so sitting tight was beneficial, but sitting tight, if it had to be sat, if you had to sit tight over next 2 years, I do not know how you would have reacted. 5 months was not very difficult. Many people sat through. Many people panicked. Very highly qualified people with maybe 25% in equity also panicked, sold their shares, and are now looking pretty foolish. Which is just luck. It is just with retrospective, with hindsight, that I'm able to say that. I do not know, but I said it even in March. That was luck. That was basically because I'm an equity guy anyway. Right, so that is as far as that is a very important learning. I have more questions to answer. 1 second, and